Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Mr. Muskie Charters, offering full-service guided fishing trips for walleye, muskie, bass, and sturgeon on Lake St. Clair and the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Booking information is online at mrmuskiecharters.com. By Grilla Grills of Holland, Michigan, makers of wood pellet, charcoal grills, and professional pellet smokers. Grilla Grills are designed for ease of use to improve your grilling or smoking skills. More information at grillagrills.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson-Silik, and we've got an exciting show lined up for you this week. We're going to kick it off with something that's become kind of an annual summertime tradition here at the show. With Bob Garner as our host, we hit the big water on Lake Michigan out of Frankfort for some big fish and a lot of big laughs. You won't want to miss that story. And Jimmy and Jordan have been working on some other exciting things for us this week too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have a couple more things on this week's show. We're actually going to sit down with one of the head honchos from 10 Point Crossbows and talk about crossbow maintenance and what you can be doing to preserve that crossbow for years to come. We're also going to have time for a bragging board on this week's show as well. So lots of good stuff. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's meat processor and Michigan destination since 1988. Offers a variety of homemade smoked meats and Michigan-made products in-store and online. The Country Smokehouse features an outdoor barbecue and bar. Details at countrysmokehouse.com. By G5 Outdoors, makers of the Quest and Prime bows, manufactured and designed in Memphis, Michigan. G5 offers a line of archery bows, broadheads, and accessories. On the web at g5outdoors.com.
To those who say we can't build a healthy economy while protecting the environment, DTE Energy has something to say. We're already doing it. Because you don't get to the forefront of cleaner, efficient energy by talking about it. DTE Energy.
Soaking in the rich tradition of Michigan hunting for over 30 years, Vanguard is proud to sponsor our friends at Michigan Out of Doors TV.
Well, we're here on our annual Michigan Out of Doors crew party. We're fishing with Steve here on the My High, and we're going to have a blast. It's always fun when Garner brought his clone this year. We've got Anders here with him. And, we're looking forward to it. We always catch a lot of fish with Steve, and we always have a lot of laughs with the gang. So looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Any trip with Bob Garner is a ton of fun. And when you throw his son Anders in, well, it only gets better. We had a boat full of friends and family as we made our way out on this beautiful Frankfort evening.
We're going to start fish some lake trout and kings. We're going to have a kind of a combo setup. We're going to run 3 or 4 rods for lake trout, probably 6 or 7 king baits, and see what happens. A lot of bait fish around. Has been a lot of lake trout around, so some big kings. So we'll give it a whirl, see what happens.
Well, we just started getting lines set right now. We went straight west from Frankfort, not too far actually. You can kind of see it in the background. And there's a trench or kind of a drop off right here, and we're going to be fishing that north, I guess Steve said. And fish are pretty spread out from what he was saying. And some of the other captains down on the docks that there's fish kind of all over, but they're not really congregated. So hopefully we'll kind of run across a few and get a few going, see if we can get Bob to reel in a big, huge king tonight. So looking forward to it.
Watch it.
Got it! All right. Jenny,
CDOC.
I don't want to hold this out too far. People of Facebook get beat up on Facebook if you have any sort of straightness in your arms while you're holding the fish.
Well, social media is full of folks who know just the right way to hold a fish. But all kidding aside, we were starting to find some fish, and Anders was up next. He is quite the outdoorsman himself now, and was working this fish in like an old pro.
Hey.
Nice fish, Anders.
Yeah, first laker I've caught in years. It's a big fish, yeah. I like it. Whoa. Stumbling around a little bit here.
That's a beauty. All right, let's stick it in there.
Well, Gabe and I just landed the drone and put down the camera, and now we both got rods in our hands, so that's a good thing. This one doesn't feel huge, but it's got some nice head shakes to it.
Nice.
There we go.
What do you know, young fella?
Not bad. Great day to be on the water.
It is.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
We're fishing about 80 foot of water.
Okay.
So we're fishing some suspended and some down on bottom for lake trout, and some suspended for kings. We're kind of mixed fishing.
And there's quite a bit of structure here in Frankfort? Or?
Yeah, there's a real steep bank. You can see the graph there. There's some big humps on it. So, you know, you just about have to have a wheelman to stay on the structure if you're fishing tight to it.
Okay, what about the holes in the south? How's that been this year?
The herring holds, it's been on and off. This boat doesn't go south too often.
It only turns right?
Yeah, it turns right a lot. Oh, my first mate through the years says that boat never goes south, but it's had its moments. So
Very first.
First on this boat?
Maybe just the first on this boat.
Yeah, but this is...
Yeah, you had the better fighter, though. I'll eat this one. Very nice. Awesome.
Well, after losing a nice laker, I had to redeem myself on what looked like a nice king salmon working his way in.
Jeez, so Pete. Here he comes, here he comes!
This was one of the most fun fighting fish I have ever caught. At least 2 to 3 different times this fish, after pulling line out, ran towards the boat in hopes of getting some slack in the line.
yeah, you can stay up with
Nice king.
Oh, yeah. I never saw anybody fight a fish with more excellence. And I ate almost a whole sandwich while he was doing it. But the way that fish turned and ran, and he had to fight him off 3 or 4 times, reel him up tight, and then he took off. And Jimmy, you're a man to be reckoned with. The old man and the sea all together.
Well, Bob can lay it on pretty thick for sure. We love this trip each year because it gives us a chance to not only catch up with Bob and friends of the show, but to chat about the old days of Michigan Outdoors TV. When did certain things happen? And old stories of Morton F., Howard Shelley, Fred Trost. And Bob is really the link between the older days of outdoor TV here in Michigan and today's crew as well. Bob's support for us over the last 20 years, well, it cannot be overstated. And when you have him on board, finding his favorite fish to eat, well, it just seemed to be the proper question.
Bob, what's your favorite fish to eat that you catch out here?
You know, nobody used to like the lake trout, but they are really, really good now. And but a salmon is silver. I don't know if there's anything better, unless it's a perch or a walleye. You know, I don't know. I don't think there's anything I don't like to eat.
You're an equal opportunity eater.
Yeah, look at this. And this fish is beautiful because it's small.
And coming right in.
tail, Bob.
You know, between the head and the tail, it is all filet.
As the evening wore on, the talk turned to the state of the fishery here in Lake Michigan, and Steve gave us his thoughts on the salmon fishing and the upcoming stocking efforts.
Well, we've seen an increase of bait fish, through the last 2 or 3, 4 years. The salmon fisheries definitely suffered. The king fishing primarily, they cut the plants, but we knew by history, if we crashed the alewife, Lake Huron died, and we don't want to do that on Lake Michigan. So now they're talking about upping the king plant by somewhere around 400,000. We were just wondering if that may be too much of a increase too quickly. We'd like the bait fish to rebound and be sure that we're not crashing a bait fish. So maybe 200,000 be a more prudent number, but we're going to let our biologists decide that. So.
Okay. Well, is this the last fish of the night, young fella?
Well, it could be. You never know. It's like Bobby calls it showtime, so you never know.
It is showtime.
Is that a king on there, you figure?
Yeah, we got a nice king on right now.
Oh, boy.
See how Jordan does with it. He's doing battle right now.
Just woke up. This fish is out there a long way. This might take a while.
Hey!
In the net.
I had 9/10 of them in the first time.
Oh, that's a toad.
Nice job, fellas.
Good job,
Man, beautiful fish.
This was a dandy 24 pounds and gave Jordan a long fight as the sun set. It was absolutely perfect. But as we were about to pull lines, another diver rod went off and I jumped at the chance to maybe bring one more fish in. This time of night is when the odds of a big king, well, they're pretty good. It simply doesn't get much better than this.
Boy, he took a lot of line.
A little bit more.
Don't take a shot.
Nice fish.
Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah. What a nice fish. Woo! Bob, thanks so much for this trip. And Steve, thanks for finding the fish.
I believe this was the biggest king I have ever landed, tipping the scales at 26 pounds. Thanks to Bob for making this trip a priority every year. And if it's been a while since you have loaded up a group of friends and hit the water in the evening on Lake Michigan, you are missing out. Even if we didn't land one fish, the ride and the view, and most importantly, the company was well worth it. Right here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
One thing that has really changed the face of deer hunting here in the state of Michigan over the last 10 years or so has been the crossbow and just how popular they are becoming. In this next story, we're going to sit down with someone to get some tips on crossbow maintenance and how to protect that for years to come. Hey everybody, we are here in Clare, Michigan at Jay's Sporting Goods. We're here with Brian Osterwalder, who has been working with 10 Point now for quite a while. Brian, just give me your background at 10 Point. How long have you been working there?
I've been with 10 Point for about 3 years now as the national sales manager.
Okay.
Before that, I was actually the state sales rep for about 10 years.
Nice.
So I've been with the company since the law actually passed in the state, and I've been with them now and actually working directly for the factory the last 3 years.
Well, we heard that Brian was going to be up here at Jay's, and we kind of wanted to just stop in to get some maintenance tips and that kind of stuff, but you were kind of there for the boom of crossbows. What was that like? Because it kind of went from very limited to wide open.
Yeah, so when it first passed, or before it actually had full inclusion in the state, you had to have a handicap permit to use a crossbow. And about 10 years ago, the state changed the law and allowed any hunter from, I think, the age of 12 till they want to use one, to allow to use it during archery season.
Yeah.
So now we have all from October 1st all the way through the end of deer season through the end of December now.
And it seems to me from, I've done a limited amount of hunting with a crossbow, shot my first turkey with a crossbow this year. It seems like they went from pretty big to really small. Maybe just before we get into maintenance stuff, what are some of the technology changes that have happened in that industry?
Yeah, so when I first started selling crossbows, I think our average width of a crossbow was right around 26 inches wide. Wow. And now today, our current widest crossbow is 12 inches wide, uncocked, and when it's cocked, it's as narrow as 6 inches. Jeez. So it's quite a bit different now from perspective of width, weight, speed. A lot of engineering has been put into the crossbows in the last 10 years due to the laws passing and changing and allowing us to engineer and change designs.
What are some maintenance things that, I'm one of the worst ones at maintaining stuff, so walk me through some things to look for when you're, just maintenance tips on a crossbow.
So the biggest things that you need to watch on a crossbow is your strings and your cables. Okay. You're going to want to lubricate and wax the string where the serving is not. Okay. You're going to want to wax the cables as well. Now this particular bow has 4 cables, 2 on top and then 2 on the bottom side.
And that is simple as just putting some wax on your finger, rubbing it on there?
You're gonna want to put the wax, I usually put the wax directly on the cable itself, and then I will push it in with my thumb and forefinger. I have seen guys use a leather strap and actually press the wax into the cable itself. Okay.
And that's for the cable and the
string as well, correct. Another maintenance tip is going to be this particular bow has the barrel to it. All of our bows do. Mm-hmm. And you're going to want to put a drop or 2 drops of oil on each side of the barrel and rub that in from the trigger box to the end of the string where the resting position is.
And what does that do for, is that to protect the string? Is that to make it shoot more accurate?
It's to protect the string. It's to keep the string from burning or reduce the friction of the actual string going down the barrel, going at 470 feet per second, as an example. So it reduces friction, is what it does. So putting that, you're going to apply a drop or 2 drops of oil roughly every 25 to maybe 50 shots. You're going to want to keep the rail damp so it looks wet, is what you're looking for. You don't want it to be dripping wet, but just have it so it's damp on the top of the barrel, again, to reduce that friction of the string.
Now, when do you start typically seeing frayed strings, frayed anything? If you're not doing any maintenance to your bow, after, is it 100 shots, 50 shots, 1,000 shots?
If you're not putting any type of oil onto the barrel, you will see your string severely start to separate probably within the first 100 shots. Okay. If you lubricate your barrel as we recommend, we've gotten in testing up to 1,500 shots. Oh, wow. Okay. So
it's quite a difference.
Quite a bit of difference, yes. By reducing the friction really increases your string and cable life.
Okay. Now in your cocking devices, how many of your bows have some sort of device versus, you still have some that you can pull up yourself, correct?
Correct, yeah. Every bow that we manufacture, you can put a cocking system on it, or you can typically manually cock it as well with a cocking aid of some sort of a sled or a rope cocker.
Now some of these narrow ones, from my experience, they can be pretty tough to cock, just not so much the weight, but just the physics of getting in there. So do you recommend this just for a good...
Yeah, so on a reverse draw bow such as this has to be cocked with a cocking device. This is called the AccuDraw Pro, and this uses a sled system that goes up and actually goes down to the string, and then you'd use our cocking handle, and then you would turn that back, and that would reduce the pull weight to about 8 pounds. Okay. So making it easy for pretty much anybody to use it and cock the bow. Gotcha. This is a wear item as well, just so you know. What we'll see is this cord also, just like the strings and the cables, you will see fray on that. And one thing that's common with the crossbow, a compound or a recurve, is when it's in the weather, when it gets cold, it gets damp, it rains or snows, you'll see this will fray. You'll see little white flakes on this particular string, or even the strings and cables. And that's where your string is dried out, and you need to apply that wax or that lubricant to the cord or to the strings and cables.
Okay, and so getting away from brand specific, talk to me a little bit about if I'm buying a $300 crossbow or I'm buying a $2,500 crossbow. What's the difference there?
So in general sense, I would say you're going to get a higher quality product. You're going to get products that are made more durable, usually. Okay. You're going to get a narrower product. Usually you're going to get a faster bow as well. Okay. So narrower, lighter, faster, and I would say better built would be a way to specify from a $300 bow to a $2,500 bow.
Gotcha.
The accessories that you get with the bow will also be included. Some of the $2,500 bows, or say even up to the $3,000 price range, you're going to get a case probably with it. You're going to get some more arrows with it. You're getting better optics as well. Okay. That's another thing you'll see different.
And kind of what do you see, down the road with crossbows? Is it similar to the vertical bow world, where it seems like every year there's some pretty big improvements and things just change all a bit? Are crossbows similar to that?
I think crossbows are still in the engineering stages yet.
Okay.
We still have a long way to go. We believe today what we currently have to what we're planning on doing in the next 5 years. I think we'll still see quite a bit of engineering and quite a bit of innovation. Eventually, I think it will slow down, but our goal is to come out with something new, later, better, faster every year to create some drive for the consumer and create a better product.
Thanks to Brian for those good tips. Whether you hunt with a crossbow, a longbow, a vertical bow, a 12 gauge, or a 30-06, there's always things that we can be doing to better preserve our hunting equipment for years to come.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you stick around in upcoming weeks. We've got a lot of information and exciting fishing headed your way. We'll hit the waters after muskie, sturgeon, bass. We'll take you out on a kids' 4-H fishing adventure. All sorts of fun stuff when it comes to fishing, and we're going to tackle the CWD issue in upcoming weeks as well. If you wonder where we are and where we're headed next, you can always check us out online.
Well, that's right, Jenny. Online is a great way to kind of keep tabs on us. Of course, our website is MichiganOutofdoorsTV.com. Full episodes of the show there every week. And like Jenny mentioned, we are going to be doing kind of a deep dive into chronic wasting disease and the baiting and feeding ban that's going to be happening here in the state of Michigan. We're going to have 3 perspectives that kind of cover the whole spectrum on that issue. Russ Mason from the DNR, Doug Roberts from Conquest Sense, and then Ted Nugent all kind of have their own perspective on what we should be doing here in the state of Michigan. So hopefully that will inform you a little bit more on chronic wasting disease management here in the great state of Michigan. Hey, if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or greenstonefcs.com. By EOTech, a Michigan company, equipping law enforcement and sportsmen alike with quality optics, creating jobs for Michigan workers. On the web at eotechgear.com. By Huron Lady River Cruises in Port Huron, offering daily sightseeing trips and private cruises for all ages. Sightseers will experience the International Blue Water Bridge, Great Lakes Freighters, the Fort Gratiot Lighthouse, and more. Huron Lady River Cruises on the web at huronlady.com. Closed captioning provided by Randy's Hunting Center, serving Michigan as Ruger & Leupold's National Dealer of the Year, and inventor of Ruger's 450 Bushmaster rifle.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. George,